While this podcast may discuss medical issues and at times answer or discuss listeners' questions, this podcast is not offering any individual medical advice, nor meant to substitute for individualized professional medical treatment or advice. So please remember that all content is for informational purposes only. And please consult with your own healthcare provider for your own issues and diagnosis. If you think you may have a medical emergency, do the right thing and call your doctor or go to a local emergency room or call 911 immediately. Never delay seeking individualized help for a problem based on something discussed here. Take care of yourself. You're worth it. Oh, hi, everybody. You know, I listened to the disclaimer, which my attorney says I have to have at the beginning of the podcast, because this is a show. It sounds so douchey to me. Whenever you think that you're going to jump out a window, please. But see what, if I recorded it the first time quickly, you know, because I started in the world of silent film. So I very, very quickly started, if you ever think that you're having, you know, to move it along. So it wouldn't be, but then it sounds like I don't care. Now it sounds like I'm just, but because we discuss, you know, things that involve mental illness and sobriety, we never want anybody to think that we're giving medical advice, unlike Captain Marmalade, the traitor of our country, your president, not for long. So I don't know how we can change the Travis, what do you think? The disclaimer. It sounds so self-important, but some of the shit we talk about is important, but you know I like to take a lighter side of it.
Sure.
Because it has so much weight in itself. But I have to do the disclaimer because you know my attorneys know how my yapper gets, and there are going to be people, you know, that live in the red states that are going to go, the Jews said you could have tequila and, you know, go fishing. And I don't want to be responsible for
well, that was this newest version of the disclaimer was much better than the very first one, which was basically, don't fucking listen to me. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And then,
but I don't.
It progressed. It got better.
Right. Because I don't know what I'm talking about. You know, we're all struggling in our own ways.
Do any of us at this point?
Well, I know. Oh my gosh. And I just want to quickly, you know, the nonprofit foundations. I know this world is hurting for so many thousands of reasons. But the nonprofits are really taking a hit right now, because when things are tight, obviously we always don't have the means to donate to people that at the end of the day are a lot needier to us. But I want to thank the people who have been checking me out on Cameo and actually sending money to the Maximum Hope Foundation. Whatever I do on Cameo, and people are like, oh, roast my grandfather or make fun of my wife. And I just don't do a happy birthday. It's Robbie from Raymond. I don't do, even though that was my, you know, that's extra if you want Robert. But what I'm just saying is
extra for that one.
You got to pay extra. But I just want to thank the people, because 100% of that goes to the Maximum Hope families. And these are people that are taking care of children that have life-limiting illnesses. So thank you for that. 100 degrees today on the coast. 100 degrees on the coast. And where you are, you're inland. It's like living on the sun. I've been in your area.
113 yesterday. And it's just, you walk outside, it feels like Missouri, the middle of Missouri.
Yeah. Okay. No puns. Okay. Save that for the outtakes. Okay. Thank you, Travis. And sleep. Yeah. It's really, but you know, there's no global warming and there's it's a hoax. It's
that's all sciencey.
The China flu's making it warm.
Mumbo jumbo. Yeah.
it's just crazy.
Don't listen to the experts. Never. What I've learned in the past 4 years is never listen to the scientists that have been studying this for 180 years.
Yeah.
Never listen to the people that have actual data that can back it up.
Sure.
Some guy told you, so let's talk. Let's listen to that guy.
Yeah. I'm not taking the first round of the of the vaccine.
Won't you?
No, I won't. I won't. But yeah. And Captain Marmalade, he's going to be pushing this down everyone's throat because he wants us. And the FDA is about as crooked as you can get, in my opinion. I believe in vaccines, no question. I'm not one of these people.
You're not an anti-vaxxer.
No, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, and I really, I don't get that. It's awful but you got to look at the numbers. It's awful if anyone got sick off a vaccine, of course, but you got to look at but the first round, oh my gosh, I'm afraid I'll grow a tail.
You might
if I take the first one.
Well, if it's a vaccine approved by him,
yes,
what will happen is you'll turn orange because he wants a whole race to look just like him.
Yeah,
orange.
That's true. Now remember, Travis, because I know we talked about the vaccine. It won't handle your chlamydia. So please be careful.
I will try.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for that note and the vote of confidence, and also for letting 13 people that are watching this know.
Yeah. Okay. It's now probably down to 11. Do you like? I'm wearing my Simon Cowell T-shirt today. Do you like that? Because it makes me look. Thank you.
Let's get a good look at that. Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
That looks nice.
Thank you very much. I've been talking to my friends. I don't have many, but my friends in Vegas, the entertainers. We're trying to figure out what's going on. Governor Sisolak, who, of course, I believe has been doing the right thing. And I realize that entertainment is going to come back last. The rumors are the end of the year, mid-2021. For people that know my act, I'm hearing never will live performing. And I understand that. And there's a reason. It's like global warming. It's a hoax. My act is a hoax. Can't get hackier than that or global warming. But it's so sad because Vegas, which is really the only city in America that's backbone is entertainment. It's me. Actually, I heard this thing that the last 3 years, entertainment and dining was actually a bigger source of revenue for the city of Las Vegas for the first time than gambling. And now we're trying to figure out if we can come back and when that will be. But I do feel for my performers in Vegas. There's thousands of them if you consider the crews and the people that turn off my mic and everyone else. There's a lot of people. So my hearts are with you. And I know we're phase 3, but I would love it. Governor Sisolak, big fan of the show. If he could we would love to just have just let us know you're thinking about the entertainers, because every time you talk, you really, we need there's not supposed to be any type of entertainment at all. And then we saw a video of Governor Sisolak, who I am a fan of, by the way. I voted twice for him. There's a picture of him at a restaurant with like a jazz trio in Vegas. So if there could be a jazz trio while you're sucking down your free ziti, I would love to know when me and Alonzo Bodden, look at that segue, can play Vegas and my club again. If you've ever worked with Alonzo Bodden, do not follow him. I made that mistake, especially with your headlights off, because he'll put the hurt on you. No, he's one of the most kindest, talented stand-ups out there. I watch his act and I want to go put my head in the oven. He's so funny. He has a special out on Amazon Prime that is called Heavy Lightweight. Also a podcast, Who's Paying Attention, which really should have been the name of my podcast because we know that answer. He was one of the original winners on Last Comic Standing. And here is a clip of Alonzo Bodden.
Last night, I was wearing my Clipper shirt. People got mad. Yeah, man. You a Clipper fan? Hell yeah. I know this. Laker fans. See, I'm actually happy the Lakers are good again. Because Laker fans don't know how to have a bad team. You know what I mean? The Lakers get bad. Laker fans just turn into a bunch of whiny little bitches, just crying. Oh my God! You Clipper fans, you give us a bad team, we know how to handle it. We like, well, we got to. Well, see you next season. We don't give up. We'll be there. I've been a Clipper fan. I love the Clippers, man. Clippers help me pick up women. They do, because I tell women I played for the '89 Clippers. Because no one knows who played for the '89 Clippers. There are actually guys who were on the '89 Clippers, not sure I wasn't on the '89 Clippers. They're like, we never checked the end of the bench. He might have been there. If he said it, he might have been.
Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, my friend Alonzo Bodden. So, how are you, man?
I am good, man. You know, just listening to your intro and the first 5 minutes, I was like, I could jump in on every topic you covered. You know, from the temperature. Yesterday, you know, I'm a motorcycle guy. My bike has a thermometer. I was on the 101. It read 118.
Wow.
Because
you're probably going through Woodland Hills.
Exactly. Yeah.
The hottest place in the world.
Place on earth.
And my hometown, Woodland Hills.
And as far as the vaccine, listen, I'm anxious to get vaccinated because I want Bill Gates to know where I am at all times. And I know he has the electronic tracker that is somehow going to be injected in all of us, right? So
sure.
Gotta do, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, after you, please.
No, I was just going to say, you're right in the intro. Like, we are in such unprecedented times. And like Travis says, the willful ignorance, the hatred of anyone who actually went to school and learned something. Like, how dare you graduate from college and try to tell me something? You've only been a doctor of infectious disease for 50 years. What the hell do you know?
That's what we're living in. That's what we are living in, man. Would you take the first round? You wouldn't take the first round, would you?
Well, no. And as a matter of fact, I was at the dentist this past week, right? But that's a whole thing. I don't know if you've done that, going to a medical facility, but
sure.
A lot of testing and safe. And I understand it because this guy's reaching in people's mouths. But he was telling me, he said, listen, the process for testing a vaccine, he said, like, they're skipping the whole process. He said it takes months, if not years. You know, you got to have a large population sample. You have to have different people, like different races of people, different ages, different, et cetera, gender, and you have to test all of them. And then they find out, oh, for this group of people, there might be this side effect. And for that age, there might be that. And they have to he's like, there's no way you approve a vaccine in 3 months because it's election day.
Yeah, I know. But then again, and Trump said that only white men will be getting the vaccine. So that really makes it a much smaller group of people to test. Only white men.
I'm okay with that. Let's test it on white men. I'm good with that.
Yeah, it's about time. Little payback would be nice. How is the motorcycle world? I know you and Jay Leno, you know, you go riding, you have a good time. You're on a show a lot. I've done the show. I think Jay brings me on to make fun of me because I don't know anything. But you actually build shit, right? Tell me about it.
I'm a gearhead, and Jay brings me on whenever he has a crazy motorcycle because, we're motorcycle guys. I'll tell you what's fantastic about motorcycles in the pandemic. It's the automatic social distancing vehicle.
Yes.
You know, I've got on a helmet. I got on gloves before it was a thing, you know?
Right.
So when you're on the bike, it's probably the safest way to travel in the sense of not sharing not sharing air, right? Or so that, and as a matter of fact, there have been a couple of times where I've forgotten my mask and I just keep my helmet on.
And you walk around your helmet?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet the white folk love that.
Oh, scare the hell out of me.
Yeah, I bet that.
As a large black man, There's nothing better than being allowed to wear a mask everywhere I go.
Yes.
You know, I'm having a ball. As you know, Brad, we all looked alike before.
Right.
Well,
now with the masks. Tell me what it's like. What is your take on what's happening with Black Lives Matter and the frightening resistance against that in this country, which has always been there, but as a black man in 2020, where you at?
Well, here's the thing, and it's not new to us. See, that's the big difference. The mistreatment by police, the abuse by police, law enforcement, etc. It's not new to black people. So we're kind of like, well, now you see what we've been talking about, right? I mean, you know, I was in a discussion about this. One of the greatest civil rights tools is going to be the iPhone, right? The fact that we're all carrying a video camera now, and we're able to say to people who've been denying it, like, look, here it is, you know, and it happens. And just the idea, the fight against Black Lives Matter, it's almost comical in like, so you're saying they don't like, how does this affect you? How does not killing black people offend you? You know? But on the other hand, people are hearing it now. I think that's the biggest difference. I think what happened with George Floyd, and the reason is my opinion that it had such an impact, is we were all quarantined. We were inside during the pandemic. Absolutely. The video came out and everyone had to watch it. It wasn't one of those where you didn't see the video and you're like, oh, he must have been resisting. What did he do? People watched the man get killed in real time. And I think that made an impression. It also, the world saw it. So now the United States can no longer pretend to be morally above some other country. You know, they're like, no, the world saw what's going on here. Yeah. In the aftermath, you know, I mean, I joke about it. You know, I've been through both riots, right? I was at the Rodney King riot and the current, you know, and I was like, well, this time we invited white people. That was the move. You know? But what I tell people, no, people ask me, and you're one of the, you know, you're doing this, okay? In this fight for racial justice, racial equality, common sense, fairness, we need white people to talk to white people. That, to me, that's the voice we need, because when to a lot of white people, when black people say it, they tune it out. Right. You're just complaining again. I'm not a racist, blah, 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 blah. So, but I think when white people talk to other white people, that's a better chance for them to actually listen. And there's a certain portion of the population that I've given up on, you know, right. Me too. Listen, if you're a racist over 40, I got nothing to talk to you about, because I'm not going to change your mind. Your mind is made up. You know, so I don't have any energy to waste on you, you know, that's like that. So what do you tell a 25-year-old racist? Because, you know, he was raised by racists. Because over 40, I know what you're saying, because I hear from white people the same shit differently than when, you know, they'll tell a black individual, oh, I'm not racist. I'm not. But when it's white on white, you know, you hear it very differently. What do you tell the younger ones? And there's a ton of them. Right. That are racist. 20-somethings. And I'm not talking about the crazy ones, the Proud Boys and all that, whatever they want to call themselves. But the 20-somethings, because they're internet savvy and because they're in the world, they don't buy it, because they see the abuse on the internet, and they have the black friend. They have a Jewish friend. They have, you know, I have a niece, let's see, she's coming up on 27. And when she was in high school, I used to laugh, because when she talked about her friend, I had no idea who that might be. That might be a Chinese guy. It might be a gay woman. They might be black, white, you know what, like that generation, I guess now they're calling them Generation Z or whatever. Right. They grow up, and I think your kids fall into that age bracket. Definitely. They've been so multicultural that when you try to tell them that black people are this or Mexican people are that, they're like, well, that's bullshit. I got a friend who, you know, isn't that. I got a friend who does this, and my friend's parents do that, you know, so that generation, and they're my hope. They're my hope. That generation.
Me too.
Multicultural, internet savvy, open-minded. They're the ones I hope for in the change of our society.
Yeah, me too. So when you know that a race is incredibly close coming up on November 3rd, it's just after these 4 years, how can it be close? And I believe it is. Do you?
I absolutely believe it's close. Because
you told me early on, I don't mean to interrupt you, you were one of the first to tell me that Trump was going to win. We were backstage at the club. You were worried about it.
Yeah, because when you travel, and as you know, I travel a ton, the secret or silent Trump voter is out there. They're the ones who, they're not going to say anything. And they might even say, I'm progressive or this or that. But when they go in that booth and they close that curtain, then they vote for Trump. So when we get these polls saying that, you know, Biden's ahead by this or that, I put the low end, 10% more people are voting for Trump than will admit it. I put that at the low end. And
I agree totally.
I read, and this quote, I don't know who initially said it. I read it from Common, from his page, but it's like, if you don't think voting is important, why do you think they're working so hard to stop you from doing it? Well, you got to vote. You got to, and I know people say my vote doesn't count. It's like, maybe, and I get that argument because there's so much shit going on with the voting, like now with they're trying to take away the ability to vote by mail. I read a great quote. No, it was on Facebook. It was this thing about the post office and what they're doing. And they said, well, if you really want your vote to count, go to a rich neighborhood and put it in that mailbox, because they're counting those. You know, they're not throwing those away. You can't take it for granted. And that's what happened in 2016. Yes. A lot of people took it for granted that Hillary was going to win and the Democrats were going to win. And you can't take it for granted. This, you know, it's unfortunate the way the system's set up.
It is.
Like here in California, we don't even count. You know, it's like, how the hell, no disrespect to Ohio, but how is Ohio more important than California when you look at the impact on the nation's economy and everything else? But the way the voting system's set up in the Electoral College, by the time we vote, the decision's already made. And our votes, you know.
How do we get rid of this Electoral College? I know it's difficult, but we're not dealing with 13 colonies anymore. It is so antiquated and lopsided, and the most votes win, as in any other, you know, election of you know, what is it going to take? Well, because the old white men run it, right? So they want the Electoral College.
The quickest way to get rid of the Electoral College, let a Republican win the popular vote and lose the election. And watch how fast the
That's why I have him on. Thank you.
The Democrats, you know, listen, I love Michelle Obama, but I will never agree with when they go low, we go high. It's like, no, you got to get in the dirt and fight with them. So this Electoral College, the fight on
that's brilliant. See, that's true. But to what point do you go high? It's like, I want to talk about the, you know, the protesting as opposed to the rioting and the looting and the burning, because this is, you know, this is the white person's trope of, well, yeah, but they're doing this, and it plays into their racism as far as, yeah, but they're burning and look. And I have to say, there are times I go, doesn't that hurt the message when you look at Portland, when you look at a place that's become, it feels like an anarchy, especially if you're white and you got that racism going in there, something that they can tag on and go, yeah, but look what they're doing, and look how they're acting like criminal. Where do you, when the peaceful protest doesn't work and the more aggressive or violent protest doesn't work, when she says, you know, when they go low, you go high, and I agree with what you're saying. To what degree? And
well, it's two different fights, right? Because I'm talking about the fight in the political arena, meaning like the best Trump commercials have been coming out by Republicans who've turned on Trump, right? What is it? The Lincoln Project.
Yep.
And this
Love them.
I don't know if you've seen any of the Biden commercials. They're very vanilla.
Yeah.
Very. And the Lincoln Project, it's like, no, let's show what a piece of shit Trump is, right? When it comes to the street and the protest, that's where it's on the media, right? And there's nothing we can do about it because it's always going to be sexier to the media to show a riot than to show a peaceful protest.
Absolutely.
So like in Kenosha, okay, with Jacob Blake, they show the burned up stores and this and that. They don't show that big rally that they had where they were giving free haircuts and barbecue and food, you know, and this was a peaceful gathering to celebrate the life of this guy and to register people to vote and this and that. There's not much we can do about that, about the coverage. And of course, we would prefer there be no rioting, and we would prefer to show, and they've shown this sometimes, especially after George Floyd, they showed some of these things where the white racists were the ones breaking the windows. They were the ones starting it.
Of course.
It like you said, it feeds the trope. It feeds that fear that they love to keep, you know. It would be great if the media would cover that, would cover Black people stopping people from breaking windows.
And you would expect the liberal media to do more of that, like the CNN or the people like, but it comes down to eyes and viewers, and it's not as sexy as you said.
Ratings. And you know, listen, it's frustrating to us too. It's frustrating to Black people to see the violence in the streets, whether it be for the sake of destroying the businesses, which is bad, and also because it does hurt the message. But the other side of that is, man, the frustration, the anger. You know, there are times when you honestly, Brad, you can't contain the anger. When you're, you know, I was talking about this with somebody, like, you can't even focus on one protest because the next murder is happening. You know what I mean? Like, we're looking at Jacob Blake, and then in LA, another man gets shot, you know, and we don't know if he had the gun or not, but even if he did, they kept shooting him when he was laying on the ground. You know what I mean? So now it's like, oh, do we start protesting this one? And then we still have Breonna Taylor and what's going on with her. And you know what I mean? It's such it gets tiring, it gets frustrating, and people's anger, people are human, man. You can only
absolutely
go so far. The anger, it does explode, you know.
And how can it not? Because it doesn't change.
I mean, when Chappelle said, you know, in 846, when he said that Don Lemon was asking for the voice of celebrity, and what did Chappelle say? Man, the streets are talking. It's like, listen to the fucking streets. You know, it ain't up to some celebrity to make a statement. Look what's going on. That's the statement, you know. So it's tough. It's a lot of things. I wish there was an easy solution. I think, if we get Biden and Kamala Harris in office, that's the start. Then we get reason. Then they start putting people in who, like, imagine giving jobs to experts. Like, for instance, imagine housing and urban development being run by somebody who's worked in housing. Imagine education being run by someone who's worked in education. Like, you honestly couldn't, if you told people this 10 years ago, if you told them that, you know, Department of Education going to be run by somebody who's never been in a school. Right. It would have been like, the hell is wrong with you? No, it doesn't work like that. So that's the hope. The next administration puts people in who are empathetic, who are intelligent, and who a
little humanity, getting back to some humanity. But it's just a first step. I mean, I'm you know, this guy cannot get back in, but it's just a first step. But, you know, huge for Kamala, for the, you know, for the people of color. I mean, you know, I read online, she's not Black enough. Joe is, you know, too white. It's just, you know, it's like, let's just make a step away from this traitor, you know, that doesn't believe, you know, that systemic racism exists, who's calling veterans losers and suckers. And you know he said it because that's his daily, that's his dialogue.
You know he said it, you know, and I can't tell you, Brad, how upset I was when Kamala Harris was and I've been a supporter of her for a long time. I love her. I think she's brilliant. And ever since the Kavanaugh hearings, but the way she lit into him, I was like, yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
The she's not black enough, and she sent black people to jail, and it's true. She did send black people to jail. It was part of her job. It is unfortunate. But let me tell you something. The worst Kamala Harris is so much better than the best Pence. You know what I mean? The worst Biden. I don't care if Biden was a senile old man. He's still 100 times better than what we have, because what we have is intentionally ignorant. And, you know, when it comes to systematic racism, like, I don't even count Trump because he's just a fucking idiot, but the people behind him who are making the decisions, they know that systematic racism exists, but they also know that their base, at the lowest common denominator of their base, is easily manipulated. These people, excuse me, aren't dumb. They know what they're doing.
But how come no one, and I know this is a rhetorical question, but isn't it amazing to you that no one stands up to this fucker? I mean that Republican, you know, and the Democrat, they got to find some balls. They got to, for once, you know, they need some stones, man. They got to, but out of all those Republicans, it's like, you know, you'll hear about 2 or 3 that say something, and that just feeds their agenda. But no one has stood up in our government that has really said, this is a disaster. This is wrong. I mean, it's crazy to me. That's what I've been waiting for. You know, where is that movement of people that have all taken the oath? Is it really that crooked? Is it really they're that worried about themselves, knowing that this Trump thing is going to go away eventually? Don't they have families to answer to, or don't they go home to someone that is like, how can you be so complicit? Or am I just, you know, that naive?
Yeah, listen, you're right. I mean, there's an extent of it where it's money, right? Where they not pay taxes or this or that. But yeah, I don't know where the humanity is. I don't know, you know, this latest one calling the veterans losers and suckers has offended a lot of people who weren't offended before. And I, again, got into this with a friend, and I was like, oh, so the racism didn't bother them, or the misogyny didn't bother them, or that, you know, and they said, shut up, we'll take them. We'll take them. Don't even, you know what I mean? Like, if this is what pushed them over the edge, okay, let them be pushed over the edge. The part of the strategy, and this is where Trump, the one thing guys like Trump is, in, you know, even Sarah Palin was this, they're experts at manipulating the media, right? So one of the things he does is, I'm going to back this lie up with another lie, to where you can't fact check it. Like, the lies are coming at you so fast that you can't fact check them all. And I love what you said about, about where is the pushback, because I love that at those White House press conferences, the women reporters are the ones who are holding, you know, they're questioning him. And the unfortunate thing is no one's backing them up, right? So when a woman asks him a tough question and he turns to the next person, have the next person ask the same question. Stop letting him off the hook. And you know, 2 women will ask him a tough question and he'll just get up and walk away, because he can't handle that. But let's not stop. That's no reason to stop doing it. You know, that's no reason to stop doing it. Ask him again. Ask him again. Yeah, the morality part, man. It's like you talk to psychologists and stuff, and they talk about, like, this is like a disorder, right? It's some kind of sociopath thing.
It is.
To be incapable of empathy, to be incapable of understanding what other people go through. And it's just what you said is true. I mean, McConnell is another one. You know, these. Oh
my God.
They really. Incredible. Where is the humanity? Where at what point? What would make you understand how horrible this is? I don't, and we don't know, because we've never reached that point, right? We've never reached a point where they're showing some humanity. So when you say what will bring out the humanity, shit, we don't know. We've never seen it.
Well, you know, it's like what I've always said. If Trump was your neighbor, you would tell the wife we gotta move. I don't want to live next, to this crazy. He's crazies, But there is, if coming from a mental illness standpoint, there is a borderline personality, a narcissistic borderline personality. It is a disorder. If you look it up, it is his playbook, and you don't have to be a doctor or a psychiatrist to know that there's shit when you're a pathological liar, which he is. You believe part of it, you don't believe part of it, and you can't stop doing it. And this happened when he was, a real estate mogul. I don't know how many moguls, declare bankruptcy 7 times, but when I would work, one of his casinos in the 80s in Atlantic City, you would hear, back in the kitchen, oh God, he's here tonight. Everyone just avoid him. Don't look him in the eyes. This is going back to the 80s, where he was a maniac running his hotels. And so,
well, you hit it. And this is where his supporters, they're so deep in the cult that they can't step out of it. But even in the beginning, when they're like, oh, he's a great businessman, it's like, he bankrupted casinos.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know how hard? Think about, here's a business where people say, hey, what are you going to do this weekend? I'm going to go to Atlantic City. I have money to lose. Like, I literally have money in my pocket that
exactly.
I can afford to lose. And he's running the business saying, how do I make a profit? I can't make the people are walking in the door.
That's right.
Right. How do you bankrupt that?
Yeah.
And yet have people say what a good businessman you are, right? Like, okay, 7 bankruptcies. So is 8 the magic number? Is the 8th bankruptcy when you say, this guy might not be a good businessman? But the first 7, that was just
back in the days when I worked at Atlantic City before I went sober, I hung out at a lot of bars, man, in Atlantic City, right? We do our show. I would drink till 5 a.m. I'd get up 4 p.m. the next day and repeat. But I would hang out, at the local bars in Atlantic City. I love that town. I love the East. And I would hang out with the people that made that city run. Carpenters, crew. There were, I ran into painters that he owed money years after the Taj Mahal opened. Contractors that were never paid. It's just, it's just sad, and it's sick. We got to, who would have thought that he would be running this country, which is not the greatest country in the world. And we have to stop saying that. And, I know this is rough for people to hear, but I don't think racism goes on this crazy in other parts of the world. I don't know. You've been all over. I don't see it this. It's racism is everywhere, but the violence,
not to this level.
Not to this level.
And, a big part of it is the history of slavery, right? Because it permeates history. And people will say today, well, I don't own slaves. It's like, yeah, but still the country was built on Black people specifically Black people. And this is no disrespect to other people of color, whether they be Latin or Mediterranean or whatever. But Black people have a specific history of being treated as less than human. And that is part of the nation's psyche. And it takes some work to change that, to get, I'll tell you, Brad, who this is really, I feel it's so hard on. And, my parents have both passed away, but my parents' generation, because they fought this fight in the 60s and they thought we made it past this, the fight to get the right to vote, the police with the dogs and the fire hoses and all of that shit. They went through all of that and they thought, okay, we've done that. Now our kids can move on and go to college and become part of the system. And instead they're watching their grandkids fight the same fight that they already fought, which is ridiculous. And when you talk about that greatest country in the world, you're right. So many times it's little things. Like I remember one time, me and a buddy, we were doing a USO tour. We're in Spain. I want to say it was Barcelona or whatever. But we were in the airport. We're waiting for our bags. And he said, hey, did you notice something? Said, no, what? He said, we're the only two black people here and nobody cares.
Yeah.
You know, there's no
That's
time,
it in a nutshell.
Yeah, there's no time
Yep.
in the US where where we're the only two black people in baggage claim at the airport and someone's not looking at us.
Yeah.
You know,
or they ask you, can you help me with my bags?
Right. Right.
Even take it to that level.
Yeah.
Right.
It was, and it was just one of those moments where you can exhale, you know, it's like,
I don't know what that's like. And what a way to fucking have to live your life.
Yeah.
And have that when you leave the house every day. And when you I mean, that's just part that people don't understand that. That's your way of life. And it's not understood.
My personal thing, and again, I'm lucky. Listen, I've had you know, life's been good to me. I've had a good run. My career is nice. I got a nice home and all of that. So I'm not saying that I'm fighting the struggle every day, but every black person on any level is aware of it. And I tell people, this is my thing. I have to put white people at ease that I'm not going to attack them, that I'm not going to hit them. And the scariest thing about that, and I really dealt with this a lot in my 20s and my 30s, is when you have an interaction with a cop and he's scared of you. Like it's an insane dynamic that I've dealt. I remember one time, because when I'd get pulled over, it's like hands on the hood, spread them, this or that, right? And this cop did that to me. And he's like, spread them wider, you're pretty big. And I literally said to him, I said, yeah, but you got a gun, Brad. He laughed. He was like, you're right. Like it never, you know what I mean? It was like, it occurred to him. It was like, yeah, I might be big. You have a gun. And he was like, oh yeah, you know, and but that's what it's like, you know? And when people talk about that thing of teaching your kids, you know, I had an experience, and it's a horrible experience. When my nephew was about, I don't know, 9 or 10, my sister was actually crying because they were in New York. She said, how do I tell my son how to deal with the police? Like, she was literally afraid for her son, you know, and this is something that, you're right, you can't imagine it unless you have to deal with it. And again, and listen, we know it's not all cops, you know, all of these excuses, you know, it's not all cops. What about black on black crime? It's like I'll tell you this about black on black crime. I expect to be afraid of a Crip, but I shouldn't have to be afraid of a cop. You know, that it's like, wow, that's two different things. So
yes, it is.
Stop making that argument, because that's not the same argument, you know. And the other thing is, there's white on white crime, because crime, and it's been proven, crime is local. Criminals don't commute. Criminals rob somebody close. So anything you say is going on in the hood or in the inner city is also going on at the trailer park.
Yes, it is.
Which they only need see your act to know, because
that's true. And the trailer trash love my act because I play into their tropes. See, that Jew's right, making fun of that Latina. Yeah, exactly. You know, we're brothers in sobriety. And we haven't talked about it a lot, but I watched a Zoom you were on several days ago that had to do with people that were sober from different parts of our life. You were the performer, the comedic element. There were doctors, there were other people that had. So tell me how you became sober. How long have you been?
32 years. Yeah,
32 years. Unbelievable. God bless you.
They call an old timer these days.
And, you know, what was your bottom?
My bottom, I tell about, I was an 80s crackhead, right? I was on the 80s cocaine timeline. I mean, smoking weed and drinking beer was always there, but the cocaine thing, I moved to LA in 1980. I had a really good job. I was in the aerospace business. I was one of those that Robin Williams talked about, that, cocaine is a symptom of having too much money, right? You know, and you start the party and the party continues. It goes too far. The freebase thing came along, the crack thing came along. It was an unbelievable rush. that high was unbelievable, and it did consume you. And the only thing you did was want more. And so I was in that. My bottom happened. I got arrested. I had been incredibly lucky, Brad. I'd never got busted, never got caught, you know, and this is using for the smoking cocaine thing for at least a 3-year period, right? Just falling down. I got arrested and I was in jail that night alone with me. And there was nobody to blame and there was no excuse. And it was like, okay, I have this at that time, you know, aerospace. I had my education, my license. Like, in other words, I had all the tools to make life work. And this is what I did with it. This is where I ended up. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, I never wanted to feel that way again. That's what it was. I never wanted to feel that way again. And I had been exposed to recovery once before, and I went back to rehab. And the big thing that happened to me when I went to rehab was I found out I wasn't the only one. That, you know, that hit me equally hard. Like, these people were me. They were my people. Like you say, brothers. They knew the shame, the loneliness, the lies that were told, all the shit, every step of, I'm not going to do that, and then you do it. I'm not going to do that, and then you do it, you know, and they knew about that. So that's what made it real and totally changed my life in every way, including my comedy career, which didn't start until 5 years into my recovery.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So comedy was always, that's an amazing story. So comedy, obviously, you were always funny. It was always brewing. The sobriety made your passion and your dream available.
Well, you know,
right?
they laughed at me until I could laugh at myself, right? So they changed my sense of humor from a tool to belittle people or to deflect attention or all of that, to when they started laughing, like when I laughed at myself. And you know, in recovery, they don't give a shit. Like, there's no, that's not. I remember going to a meeting and you know, I was just, oh man, I just feel like killing myself. And this guy, Marty, this old guy, said, congratulations. You didn't even think about getting loaded. You went straight to suicide. You're going to be all right. You know? And I tell people, that's the difference, right? In a mental health facility, they're never going to joke about you wanting to kill yourself. In recovery, they're going to tell you, you're doing good. You're doing good. You only want to kill yourself. You're well on your, and you know, and it was 1,000 laughs like that changed it, that made it okay, you know, and yeah,
because it's not a clinical approach, you know, especially the steps. You're surrounded not by doctors that are trying to, you know, who've never fucking hit a bottom, but people that are in the muck with you. And so the humor is huge. I mean, some of the biggest laughs have been at meetings, you know, and stuff. And when I started, I tried to use my humor to deflect at an AA meeting. And that lasted about 10 seconds. I mean, I'm used to silence when I do my act, but boy, when you get silence in an AA room after a joke, oh, that's beyond crickets. That's what I call crickets thoughts when you die in an AA meeting. And I stopped that shit right away.
Because people know if you're trying to do your act versus being genuinely funny. Sure. And when it's genuine and we laugh at our pain, because it's a shared pain, right? We laugh at it. But when you're just trying to be funny for the sake of being funny, people are like, no. And there's always somebody who's going to pull your shirt on that and be like, hey, we don't do that shit here, you know? And it might be the funniest person you know. It might, you know what I mean? That's the thing. It might be a superstar in the world of comedy, because as you know, we have all types of entertainers come through, and they'll be the one to tell you, like, don't be funny here.
That's exactly right. You know, with the COVID pandemic, a lot of people working on their sobriety are struggling more than ever. What for the people out there that are finding that the Zoom meetings and the stuff like that, it's not the same feeling for them, and the isolation for people like you and I can be really difficult, because a lot of our shit we did alone, and we loved it. I was, we
already isolated.
Yes, exactly. What can you say to them out there? Give them
it really is tough. We talked about this on that panel I was on, the idea of trying to recover through Zoom meetings when you don't have somebody in the room, to me, is impossible to understand. I know it's really hard. The advice I give to people, the thing I say, like, connect with somebody through Zoom, and then do a walk, do a social distance walk together, meet up somewhere. There's some people are doing outdoor meetings in parks and at the beach. And if that's available and it's safe, it's okay. But that's still kind of questionable, for reasons. But you can always meet with one or two people and go for a walk or sit somewhere outdoors and just talk. And that's the best advice I can give to someone, because it does help to have that contact, and it does help to get out of your house, right? Especially if you're the isolator who would drink at home alone or get high or whatever at home alone. You need to get out of the house. So it does help. And that's where it's like, hey man, you got the chat on the side in the Zoom, and you hear say, hey, can we meet up and just walk in the park and talk about something or whatever. That's the advice I would give. We can gather in small groups. You can 2 or 3 people. I knew one guy, it was his birthday, his anniversary, his first year. And he asked like 5 of us to meet him at the parking lot of this church where he normally went to meetings. And we just showed up and kind of stood in a circle, and it was like, happy birthday. And that meant the world to him. So we can do that kind of thing. We can do that kind of
That's great. And you're really one of my heroes. And I know in Hollywood that sounds so trite, but the human you are, the talent you are, you've been so generous to Maximum Hope, my foundation as well, that takes care of these families. But you're just, we need more Alonzo right now, more than ever. I want to thank you for doing this. And if it's okay, if I give a shout out, Travis, come on. Would you mind coming on?
Hey guys.
Travis Zoe just celebrated his first birthday.
Congratulations, man. I did not know that, but yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
One is there's 2 things they told me when I hit 1. They said, that's great. Congratulations. Get 5.
get 5 and then come back to me.
Yeah, exactly. Right? They let me enjoy 1 for, I don't even know if it was the full 24 hours before they were like, yeah, now get 5. Shut up.
Yeah. Or 32. Or 32. Man, no, you're so blessed, and when I hear blessed, you did the work. You did the work. And and that's the key. You got to show up, and you got to do the work.
Time. And and that's the thing, because now, how much time do you have, Brad? If you don't mind me asking.
I have 23.
Okay,
23.
so you know this as well as I do. When you come in, you hear some guy with 20 years. You're like, oh my God, that's not even possible, right? That's not even real. And then you start putting together the day at a time today, and then you start realizing, oh shit, I'm that guy. Like all the things that you heard 20 years ago, now you're saying it, and you're like, wow, I'm that, I'm that guy. I got that. So it's still a year but we still remember the first year.
Oh, the first year is, the first year, I just remember when the clarity started coming back.
Yeah. And it's impossible to do a year, but it's possible to do a day. And I remember this guy say, he said, listen, you got one, when I got 1 year, he said, you got 1 year, I got 5. It's like, oh my God, you got 5. He said, but then I get 10, you got 5. Now it's not so much. And he said, and when I got 30 and you got 25, who gives a shit?
That's exactly right.
It's
so what would you say, Zoe, to someone out there right now that is struggling? Someone like you were 32 years ago, or someone like I was 23 years ago, because you never want to hear it when you're not ready. You got to be ready. It's no magic to it. What do you say to them?
You absolutely have to be ready. And I'm going through this with some friends of mine who are dealing with it with their son. Their son is in that. He's been in 1 or 2 rehabs. He's in that continuous bottom. You know, he's doing that, looking for his bottom, as we call it, right? And I tell him, listen, he has to hear the similarities, not the differences. You have to hear somebody. To me, this is what happens. You hear somebody or something and you realize, like, oh, wow, I am the same as you. And for me, that experience came from people who were completely opposite to me physically or background or whatever. But I heard them say something or they did something and I realized, yeah, I think the same way, or I do the same thing. I have the same fear, you know? And then the other thing was, and this is what these guys did to me when I was new. They took away any of the bullshit. You know, like I was telling somebody the other day, right? You know, man, it's hot. Man, I need a beer. It's like, when did you ever drink beer because it's hot?
Right.
You didn't give a shit about it. Wasn't like, oh, well, it's a 70-degree day. I don't need beer today. Yeah. You didn't only drink beer above 90 degrees. Stop bullshit. You drank to get drunk. You know,
right. Exactly.
The truth. And they hit you with that. And you have to hear that. You have to hear that, you know, you're not different. You're not, you know, you're one of us. And I think that once, that's the first thing. So that's the problem, right? And then the solution becomes one day. It's like I said, like I can't not drink for 32 years, but maybe I can not drink today. And then if I don't drink today, and if I do the same thing tomorrow, maybe I don't drink tomorrow. And then I meet somebody who hasn't had a drink for 2 weeks. And it's like, holy shit, man, 2 weeks, what's that? Because if I got 3 days talking to a guy with 30 years, I don't believe him. But if I got 3 days and I talk to some guy with 10 days, like, holy shit, man, how did you do that? You know,
yes. It's got to be reachable. It's got to be. That's why one day at a time. You hear it forever, but it's the only way you can go about it, and to stay. And all right, real quickly, I saw something on your Instagram, and can we pull up, Travis, all the info, because your Instagram is great. That Clippers bit. I was dying because I'm a native Californian, man. I was dying, and LA fans are the worst. The minute we have they can't handle any, you know, then they're all of a sudden they're a Knicks fan. What do you think? Do the Clips have it? They're looking good, right? Who's going to take it this year?
The Clippers are looking great. Kawhi is great. Paul George is in and out. You know, we enjoy success, but we're guarded. I have a friend. He was a lifelong Red Sox fan. And when the Sox finally won it, what was that, 04, 05 or whatever, when they won that World Series, he was like, I'm still not going to celebrate for 2 weeks because they might take it away. You just can't. You know? So as a Clipper fan, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm happy in the second round. Like, listen, this is new territory for us.
Sure.
I'm going to enjoy the second round before I worry about the championship. I'll worry about the championship next year. Right now, I'm just happy to see this, you know.
I love that.
It's so much.
That's your gratefulness through sobriety, by the way.
It's so much fun being a Clipper fan because of that grind, because of the fact that, you know, there were seasons when the team, you know it, Brad, when the team would win 15. You remember when you used to go to a Clipper game for 10 or 15 bucks, like it was $1,000 to see Showtime.
Sure.
Well, no, I can go down to the sports arena. And
I never went to a Clipper game.
The sports arena was basically like, well, how much you got?
Yeah.
How much you got?
That's exactly right. It's 2 for 1, baby.
So if you want to throw us a couple of bucks, hey, we got air conditioning.
Yeah. And Billy Crystal is, you know, one of the most infamous Clipper fans. Is he still?
Billy's still there. Billy's still there. And but yeah, I think that's what it is. It's the grind of the Clippers. And you know, the Donald Sterling thing, that really made a difference. That I think that brought the fans and the team together, like, you know, get rid of this guy. And Steve Ballmer is fantastic because he has so much money that he doesn't have to ask anyone anything. It's like, we need a new arena. He's like, yeah, I got that. I can buy an arena. What the hell? so he's part of the fun. Like, if you ever see pictures of him on the sideline, he's losing his mind.
Oh, yeah. It's just what that team needed. And you know what I'm loving? What about how all of these giant venues, these arenas are, this is what I love, are opening up so people can vote. They're seeing that's going to bring, and a lot of them are in urban areas where we need to be counted.
This is where, you know, what's her name? Laura Ingraham, the Fox, like, shut up and dribble. Yeah. Well, look what the athletes did. Look what the athletes did. The athletes opened up arenas and stadiums for people to vote. And in a lot of cases, and LeBron is one of these, and I'm a big fan of LeBron on and off the court. But when he reaches into his pocket and says, yeah, I'll pay the poll workers. Here's $1 million. I'll pay them. It's Laura, shut up.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely. I love it. I love it.
The ball player, and the other thing, and I talked about this on my podcast, the other thing, the young ball players, and when I'm talking young, you know, 20, 21, 22, a lot of them weren't registered to vote, and they admitted it, and now they're registered, and people, oh, you're a hypocrite. No, you're 21. I was an idiot when I was 21. You know, the idea, people judge these athletes. It's like, think back to when you were 20, 21, 22. And imagine if someone gave you $10 million. I don't know about you, Brad. I wouldn't be here today. I definitely would have been dead. Sure. You know,
no question about it.
The fact that these guys are 20-something years old, and they're putting their job on the line. They're doing all this publicly. That's amazing to me. So I got a lot of respect for that.
Me too.
Along with everything else, and it's not just basketball. You know, the other athletes did it. Football players. Did it, the tennis players did it. All athletes were like,
when the tennis players did it, I went, this shit's real.
Yeah.
When you get the tennis people, you know, to do it, it gives us hope. Now, you're one of the few comics that are back on the road, man. Now, I know you did a virtual thing the other night. What is that like?
You know, okay, here's the difference between doing a Zoom show and doing a live show. It's a difference between playing Grand Theft Auto and actually stealing a car and running from the cops. One has a bit more energy. There's a bit more on the line.
Sure.
No, I got to do some live shows in Tampa, Florida, and St. Louis. The clubs were great. The clubs cut to half capacity. They require a mask until you sit at your table to, you know, actually have your drink. Is the mask off during your show? Yeah. Okay. You know, because they're at there, because you sit with the people you came in with. As a matter of fact, one club, the Helium clubs, you don't buy a ticket, you buy a table, and you can have up to 4 people. The tables are spaced 6-8 feet apart, whatever. You can have up to 4 people at your table, but they have to come in together. So that's the social distancing thing. You know, that's how they keep it as safe as possible. And for the comics, we each had our own microphone, and, you know, or you can bring a mic. I carry a mic now when I go out. Right. So it's as safe as can be. And, you know, from a performer creative standpoint, you know, the first live one I did was July 3rd. They were like,
where at? It July 3rd?
July 3rd. It was at the Comedy Store in La Jolla. And
you're kidding.
They opened up for about 2 weeks during that period when remember when California first opened? Yeah. We lost our minds, and they were like, you can't have nice things because you don't know how to behave.
That's right. Right.
They opened in that period, and a friend of mine was doing a show, and I went to see him. He said, "Hey, you want to do 10 minutes?" And I did it. It was like 35 people, but just the energy and the creative energy of being with live people versus doing it on a screen is incredible. Now, doing it on a screen is something that we've all had to learn how to do this, right? Because this is what we were doing. Again, the energy's not the same, but people open up their microphones so you can hear some laughter. And we had to figure out how to make the best of that, you know, to make that work. So again, it's not the same, but it's better than doing nothing. I don't know about you, for the first 2 months, just sitting at home, you know, how many you do your friends' podcasts and stuff like that. This and, you know, and these are conversations we have. But just not performing, man. You know, I didn't get on a plane from March 14th to like August, I don't know, 12th or 15th, whatever. That was the longest in 25 years I've gone without getting on an airplane. That you know that you know how to roll bus. That's your job. People are like, what do you do? Oh, my job is go to the airport. The comedy shit is just for fun.
Yeah, that's right. So when you're in front of that live audience, at Helium, right?
Yeah.
What is I mean, it's got to be odd, but what is the vibe of the COVID crowd now? It's like, where's their head at?
They love it too, because they haven't had a chance to come out. Okay. Right? So for them, it's like, oh man, I'm getting to do something live. So it's one of those things that you have to talk about it. You got to talk about the virus and the quarantine and the this and the that, but you don't make the whole show about it. You have to acknowledge it. Like, there's no way, what are you going to go up there and not acknowledge the fact we've all been locked in our houses for 3 months? Right. But at the same time, you don't want to pound everybody with it to the point that it becomes depressing.
Well, they want to get away from it. That's why they're out, right?
So you feel that out, and you find a balance. And the same thing with the political stuff. You know, you give them some, but it's not a rally.
Yeah, you've always walked that line in your act politically, very, very gingerly and very artistically. Is there any more that you're doing that is being fueled from the
well, you know, I tell them, it's like, I believe Black Lives Matter because I have one. You know, I got skin in the game on it. Right?
Great.
And the thing with Trump, and I've been this way since the second year. The first year I did a lot of Trump material, but then it becomes the same thing. It's one more lie. It's one more outland. So it literally becomes tiring. I said, Sarah Cooper's the only one who figured it out, right? You can't say anything funnier than what he actually says. So she's like, oh, I'm just going to say what he actually says.
Yeah.
You know? And
absolutely.
What she's done has been fantastic. And we're all like, why didn't we think of that? Wait a minute. What?
Exactly.
It was all
exactly right. Yeah.
So, and the crowd is like that, you know. Listen, and I don't know how much of this you've encountered. This might be different for you, being a white comic and being the star you are, the name recognition. But
well, I'm not a star and I'm not white. So, but go ahead. Yeah.
In my experience, the true Trump people, they don't come out to laugh because they're not happy people. They're angry fucking people. And they don't come, you know, to them, the idea of like, they would only go to a comedy club if they knew it was going to be angry comedy aimed at Mexicans or something. Right. You know what I mean? But
well, you know, again, don't fuck with my demo. Okay. It's, listen, man, you're unbelievable. I know I took a lot of your time, especially being white. I feel horrible. But you're my LeBron, brother. I'm going to put it that way. You walk the walk. You talk the talk. You've always been that way since I've known you. And I'm grateful for your time and your honesty. And man, you gave me hope. You really did about life.
You know, it's a mutual thing. And Travis, you're listening, and you can back me up on this because Brad will never talk about it. I'm talking to Brad's audience right now. he is quietly one of the most generous, helpful guys in the comedy community. And I'm not going to embarrass with any specifics, but I do know there have been some comics who've been down on their luck, had a hard time, and a little help came from somewhere. And you know, the things like that, you've never forgotten being a comic. Your acting success, everything else, you've never forgotten what it's like for comics out there grinding.
Thank you.
And it honestly, it is a very generous thing, and you're known and loved for it in the industry. And your club, and everyone knows it, is one of the greatest clubs in the business because you remember what it's like to be a comic. So you treat us, you do everything to make our job easier and more fun, other than the most distractingly beautiful waitresses. That
have nothing to do with. That's all the MGM. You know how they do it. You know,
distractingly beautiful waitresses, which is not a knock against the club, just something you have to learn to deal with. And you know, you tell young comics, listen, look up, keep your eyes up. Look up.
That's right.
Whatever you ask her, the answer is no.
Well, you are loved by everyone at the club, and people who knew we were talking today wanted me to send you love and health, and we can't wait to be open and have you back. And thank you for your kind words back at you. That means a lot to me coming from you.
Thank you, Brad. Mutual admiration. And Travis, again, congrats on 1 year, and you're doing a great job. And isn't it nice of you, Brad, to help Travis out, because we know he's special.
Yes, he is special, and he's probably petting a kitten right now, and not too hard, Travis. Gentle with cat. Love you, bro. Be healthy, be well, and can't wait to share the circle with you again.
You talk about a name for a podcast, Gentle with Cat.
Gentle with Cat. That would be whatever could help.
How would you not tune in? Tune in next week to Gentle with Cat.
Yes. See that? You never know. I need help.
I love you, man.
I love you more, man. And thank you again. Alonzo Bodden, everybody. Be well, people. What a great time. What an enlightening podcast today was. Funny, heartfelt, and just grateful for these people in my life. Travis, congrats again on your 1 year, man. A lot of love. Stay strong, Alonzo. Appreciate you. Everybody out there, keep hope alive. You know, that sounds trite, but it's all we got right now. Things are going to change, and it's okay to ask for help because we all need it. Be well, everybody. While this podcast may discuss medical issues and at times answer or discuss listeners' questions, this podcast is not offering any individual medical advice, nor meant to substitute for individualized professional medical treatment or advice. So please remember that all content is for informational purposes only. And please consult with your own healthcare provider for your own issues and diagnosis. If you think you may have a medical emergency, do the right thing and call your doctor or go to a local emergency room or call 911 immediately. Never delay seeking individualized help for a problem based on something discussed here. Take care of yourself. You're worth it.